to my channel and welcome to day 5 of Whole Grain Week. If you're just joining us, all week long we have been sharing delicious whole grain based recipes. We're partnering with my friends at Bob's Red Mill to bring you all of these recipes. We're using their amazing whole grains in these recipes, and each day of the week I've shared a different recipe that uses a different whole grain. And basically my idea behind this week was to give you inspiration to incorporate more hearty whole grains into your diet. So far, you guys have loved all of the recipes that I've shared, and I'm really excited to end this week with this amazing wild rice soup. So we are using Bob's Red Mill wild rice in this recipe, and we're combining it with creamy coconut milk, a ton of delicious spices like turmeric, curry powder, and basically it's reminiscent of a Thai curry soup, but it's hearty, it's healthy, and it also sneaks in a ton of vegetables. So this only requires one pot to make. It comes together in about 75 minutes because the wild rice takes a while to cook. But I do plan on giving you some tips at the end of this video to help you speed things up if you're short on time. So make sure to stay tuned after the recipe and we'll talk about that. But for now, let's just go ahead, dive into the recipe and get started. So the ingredients we're going to need for this recipe are 1 cup of Bob's Red Mill wild rice, 1 cup of chopped onions, 1.5 cups of chopped mushrooms, 1 cup of frozen green beans, 1/2 cup of chopped carrots, as well as a tablespoon of coconut oil, 3 garlic cloves, 1 tablespoon of tomato paste, 1.5 teaspoons of curry powder, 1 teaspoon of turmeric, 1/2 teaspoon of ginger and cumin, as well as 1/2 teaspoon of salt and pepper. And then for our liquids, we're going to be using vegetable broth, coconut milk, and water. So to get started, we're just going to melt the coconut oil in a large saucepan. I'm using a Dutch oven here, but you can use any sort of soup pan. And then just fully melt it and add in your onions and your carrots. And then you're just going to saute those until they start to soften a little bit, about 5 minutes or so. And then you'll add in your mushrooms and the garlic. Stir that together until it's all incorporated and starts to become fragrant, which is about another minute or so. Then we can add in the wild rice and the tomato paste. And then we'll stir that all together and let the rice kind of toast a little bit. So we're gonna cook this for another 2 to 3 minutes. Then you add in your spices, your salt and your pepper, stir it all together. And then add in the vegetable broth, the water, and the coconut milk. And now you will just stir everything together, and it's gonna feel like there is a lot of liquid, but since the rice is cooking in this liquid, it is going to absorb a lot. So we're just gonna bring it to a boil, and then we're gonna simmer it for about an hour, maybe even a little bit longer, depending on how quickly your rice is cooking. But it should thicken up nicely like this, and then we'll add in the frozen green beans. And I also decided to add in a can of chickpeas, but that is totally optional. Then you'll just stir that all together, let the green beans and the chickpeas heat up, and you're ready to serve. And then I like to serve mine with a squeeze of lime juice and a sprinkle of cilantro or parsley. And that's pretty much it. Like I mentioned, you can store this for leftovers. It freezes really well, and it's a really delicious hearty soup. And there you have it, my friends. That is how to make my creamy coconut turmeric wild rice soup. That's kind of a mouthful, but this recipe is seriously so delicious. I have some sitting on the stove behind me, and I'm gonna have it for dinner tonight with a side of avocado toast, and I can't wait. I really hope you guys give this recipe a try because it's one of those things that's super simple to make. While it takes a little bit of time, it only uses one pot. You can throw everything together, let it simmer on the stove while you do your thing in the kitchen or in the house, let it cook, and then you'll have dinner ready. It also freezes really well, which is awesome, so you can just reheat it and have it for lunch or dinner anytime that you are short on time. So like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, I do want to give you some tips on how you can speed up the cooking process because like I mentioned, it takes about 75 minutes to cook on the stove. So there are 2 options. The first is to pre-cook your wild rice. So you can cook wild rice, the one that I used in this video, which is just Bob's Red Mill regular wild rice. You can cook that before you cook the soup, and that will cut the cooking time down by about 20 minutes. The wild rice takes about 40 to 45 minutes to make. You can stir everything together. You can have your veggies and all that stuff simmering, and then you can stir the wild rice, the chickpeas, and the beans together, and the soup is ready in probably about, I would say, 50 to 55 minutes. The other option is to use Bob's Red Mill quick cooking wild rice. That should cut your cooking time down by about half. The wild rice is the same flavor, the same texture, but it cooks in less time. So I will link both of those products in the description box below if you want to pick them up. Other than that, I want to thank you guys so much for joining me all week long. If you want to check out the other whole grain recipes that are part of Whole Grain Week, you can click the playlist in the description box below. And I am also going to be giving away a free ebook that contains all of the recipes that I shared this week. So if you want to grab that, make sure to click the link in the description box below that is next to the thing that says Whole Grain Recipe Book. There should be a link, and that will just automatically sign you up for my email newsletter, and then I will be sending out the recipe book. So if you want to grab that, click the link in the description box below. Of course, this recipe with more photos, the ingredients, as well as the directions, everything's on my blog, so you can find that again in the description box below. Basically, there's a lot of info in the description box below, so make sure to check that out. And if you guys have questions, comments, anything like that, please feel free to leave a comment. I respond to every single one, and I love hearing back from you guys. And again, I want to thank Bob's Red Mill for joining us all week long. As you can tell from the variety of recipes I have made and shared, they have a ton of different products. There are so many ways that you can use them, and they are just amazing. So go ahead, check out their entire product line, and there is nothing that I don't recommend. Everything will be back to normal next week as far as posting goes. We'll have a new recipe on Tuesday and then a lifestyle post on Friday. So I look forward to sharing that with you. And other than that, I hope you guys have a really great weekend. Thanks again for joining us for Whole Grain Week, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye, guys.